we had different opinions ourselves. I think you find that
Yeah.
something you're less likely to say. I felt it was something I might perhaps say, and I was wondering why we'd have those different views. And one thing that occurred to me was that that construction is very close to another construction that is perfectly okay. This is the best time for me to meet you. If you can say this is the best time, why can't you say this is the first time for me?
This is the best time for me. And also,
Isn't that strange?
Now that you say that, I would say, okay, let's have a meeting. What's the best time for you?
Right.
Oh, the best time for me is Saturday or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can certainly say this is the best time for me to meet you. In fact, that's the correct way to say it. But we have doubts about this is the first time for me to eat it. But then I thought, well, if those two constructions are the same, it should work the other way round. So that if we can say this is the first time I've eaten it, we should also be able to say this is the best time I've met you. But that doesn't work.
No.
So it clearly indicates that at some level these two structures are different.
Yes.
But
semantically, do you think?
Yep.
Yeah.
Semantically different, and I think in the end, Veronica, we need to look at what native speakers actually say. And that's where something else comes into play here. Why don't we look at what native speakers actually say? I feel that learners of English don't make good use very often of the resources that are available to them. And I'd like to introduce a little resource here.
Okay, perfect.
Now, the resource is something that you have all heard of. It's called Google. All right. So if we say
it is the first time
for me.
No, I still wouldn't say it.
First time for me to, whatever. And we look and we see, well, do native speakers use this? Now I'm getting Japanese results turn up because I'm here in Japan. But and a lot of the results are actually grammatical websites like this word reference website or the grammar and so on. But we can find just regular websites. First time for me to eat Burma, meaning the first time for me to eat Burmese food, the first time for me to meet our brand new VUB racing team. Okay, we do find that native speakers are saying this. First time for me to post a job on LinkedIn. People are saying these things. So notice that the way I got that result was by putting a quotation mark at the beginning and end of the expression. That gives me the exact phrase. This is called an exact phrase search, and that's part of the menu of Google Advanced Search. You can select these Google Advanced options by simply typing in Advanced Search and going here. All right. Okay. So that's one way in which you can check what.
That's great.
It's just one of the ways in which you can check what native speakers are saying.
How about Ngram?
I was going to move on to that one. Absolutely. Ngram is very much the thing here. I mean, it's actually better in a lot of ways. So again, you just type in Ngram. And
I use Ngram quite often when I'm not sure, because I've heard something by students so often that it actually sometimes makes me question, what do I say? So
well,
because we are so influenced by language that even native speakers, teachers, I think especially,
we might occasionally
really influenced by our students. So sometimes I have to check Ngram.
So how does Ngram work? Well, it's the same thing, except that here you can compare two expressions. So I want to take something like. I can only have something up to 5 words. I can't have... first time for me to...
First time for me.
Time for me to. And that's going to bring up that construction. And the second one is first time I've... Okay?
Yeah.
And the past participle in there.
Just to alert people to this if they haven't used it before. You put in a comma
Yeah. The comma separates the two items. You don't need a space, but you need that little comma in there.
You need the comma.
And
what's our result?
the first time I've comes up, okay, an awful lot. First time for me too doesn't come up much.
No.
And
so
I'm going to, if I enter the search
what
again.
Have we got here? We've got English for a long time there. Yeah. You can also change your parameters. So instead of from the 1800s, you could look from like 1950.
That's right. You can look at different and these are all taken from the Google Books database, which is a huge database of printed material. So if you want to look at examples of people in printed books saying, first time for me too, David Wallace says it in his book, David Wallace Goes to India. This is the first time for me to be in the Northern Hemisphere. You can actually click on that and you can see where it comes inside the book. Okay? I can't actually see it on that page, but if you look in the middle there, this is the first time for me to be in the Northern Hemisphere. Can you see it in the middle of the page there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel that native speakers use this. I do, as you said, and I certainly use it if I'm trying to figure out something in Japanese or Spanish, and I want or French or something like that. I really want to get it right because it matters. in everyday conversation, that's one thing, but to get a letter right or to get something right in an application or something, well, I would use this. So I feel that it's pretty important for people learning English to use these resources that Google gives them. They've got a huge database of people using actual English. And if they use that database, they can see, native speakers are using the language in this way. And if they can do it, then why can't I do it? Okay, I should be able to do it.